Hey guys, welcome back to Max's Fearless Youth, where we combat substance abuse and mental illness through the arts. I'm Katie.
And I'm Hannah.
And today we have a very special guest who we'll be interviewing today, Cass.
Hi.
So I've known Cass for a very long time, and I've seen you grow not only as a person, but as an artist. I think it's really cool to see how your art style has developed, and I'd love to talk about that with you and sort of how you go about it, sort of your process.
Well, I normally do like illustrations, pencil and ink. I'll do other stuff. Sometimes I do collage, and I'll paint normally with watercolor or acrylic. And I did last year, I was at Women's Studio Workshop, and I did some courses there where I sort of experimented with stuff like paper making and print making, which was super fun, and I think I would do more if it wasn't really difficult to do at home. And I like film photography too. I just got a film camera and I'm figuring out how to work it.
That's so cool.
Mm.
So yeah, I just do a lot of stuff.
So what topics do you usually try to cover in your art, if you have any?
I mean, a lot of my art is just doodles, but when it comes to the stuff that I spend serious time and thought on, when I try to do more realistic pictures, is trying to capture, like, not just what something physically looks like, but the essence of what I'm drawing. Like, I try to make it representative of more than just what you're seeing, but also what it represents to me. I also make a lot of art with sort of recurring themes about nature and mortality and the interconnectedness of life, because I have a view of the universe that's like everything is a lot closer than we designate it to be.
Yeah, I feel like art and identity go hand in hand, I guess, in a sense, because everyone has their own art style and sort of what they, their own perspective on the world. So I was just wondering, like, growing up, because I remember you would always be drawing and you always had a sketchbook in your hand. So how has that affected, I think, just sort of like growing up and in your teen years and having that outlet as an artist?
It was good to have that outlet. I didn't have a lot of other outlets when I was younger, and I didn't have the easiest childhood. So being able to have art was a great way to put all those feelings into words, not even just the big, serious, heavy feelings, but just the stuff I was interested in, the stuff that was on my mind that I frankly, just didn't have a friend around to talk about it with. And not that I'm glad I had a hard childhood, but I am glad that I don't think I would be an artist today if I didn't have those difficulties as a kid, because nothing would have pushed me into creating and trying to express myself that way.
Definitely.
So it's kind of like art has been your way to mainly sort of express yourself, even throughout all these different environments.
Yeah, I think it actually helped. It gave me something that was an anchor, because for reasons even aside from like moving around a lot, my life was pretty tumultuous as a kid. So it gave me this very reliable and constant outlet, and something that was familiar when everything else was changing around me.
Can you tell us a little bit about your high school experience? Good, bad, bit of both?
I mean, I really enjoyed the academic part. I loved my teachers. I got along really well with all of my teachers, and I did good in my classes, and I was one of those like rare students that did actually love to sit and learn about new things. But the people there I had trouble with. It's also just, it's hard for me to get out there, and when I did get out there, a lot of people were a little closed off to me. There's some people, I'm a trans man, so that I've had people say stuff about that to me over the years. So it also it became a little stifling, because there were a lot of people around that had heard things about me but didn't know anything about me as a person.
Right.
Do you think being an artist kind of let you tap into a community that you didn't really have before?
It did. I really appreciate all the arts programs that they had in the high school, because that's where I met. I think art classes is where I met most of the people that I'm still friends with and I still think about today. And it also taught me how to tap into those feelings even more, because for a long time I would make art as expression but not really understand what I was expressing. So now it's become a tool for me to look at what I'm putting on paper and to figure out what I'm actually feeling or thinking.
Do you have any specific works that you've done that you feel really connected to?
I do. I have a couple. This was not long after I had a personal experience in my life where I had to move out of my mom's house. She's not doing good. And it was just it kind of felt like my whole world had been turned upside down. And at the same time, it felt like I'd finally been given a chance to be something better than what I had been and then what my life was like when I lived with my mom. So that sort of whole piece was about the night that I left, where I was sitting in my friend's car with the police outside the house, and I put butterflies all around it, because that night, to me, when I think about it through an artistic lens, it's sort of it's like a chrysalis. That was where I was incubating right before I was going to come out as something different and new.
Do you think your art is something that other people could relate to, in a sense? Whether that's, I know art is subjective and everyone has their own opinion on it, but do you think it's something that other people can relate to, even if they aren't in the same situation, but they can have the same feeling?
I think so. I mean, I try to keep the stuff that I make open-ended, because even if I had a very specific idea or memory or feeling attached to the art I was making, I really like to see other people connect with it in some way. I think everyone's experience is unique, but I also think pretty much every experience that a human has had on Earth has some common thread or theme or feeling that links them together. So I could make a piece that would represent my personal grief over losing someone, and somebody who's going through some grief over something entirely different could connect with it, and I like it that way.
I think it also brings up a chance to meet, like I said before, with friends, but also other artists too, to sort of have the same feelings but have totally different works of art, and you kind of get a sense of community with that. And I feel like it's really cool because, you know people, and they are people like you. So it's there's so many different personalities that go into art. And but other mediums have you worked with?
I've done a lot. I used to do collage. I'm sure you remember, Hannah. A few years ago, I found this box full of magazines, and I spent about 5 hours a day cutting out pictures and pasting them to my wall. And that went on for 3 weeks. Like I said, I did film photography, which I did a course in high school, and just because who has a film camera anymore, it's been hard to pursue outside high school, but I just got a film camera, so I'm hoping to get back into it. I'm learning a little bit of crochet to pass the time. I've done some, sculpture every now and then, or oil painting. It's not my favorite just because it takes so long to dry. And I think most kinds of art I've at least played with a little bit. They're just not my main go-to.
Do you have a main goal throughout your art, throughout all these mediums, or is it just kind of everything is different?
I think the goal is just to create something in general, to put something out there that's a piece of myself and my life, and that it cannot be, can't be changed or diminished by the world around it. I think just in general, for everyone, every single human on earth kind of has to step on their own selves a little bit and kind of has to put themselves into a box. So I think art is a really great way to just take that piece and put it right out in the world without having to modify it for somebody else's, comfort.
Do you feel like things would have been different, maybe more beneficial to you if there were more resources for art in your community, like outside of school?
Yeah, I definitely, if I knew about more local courses for like art or, just even places to meet up with people who have an interest in that sort of thing, I would really love to have that because, I don't know, I connect. It's nice to have people that share an interest and a passion for it.
Yeah, I think it would really benefit artists and I think just our community as well to have a place where it's like local and emerging artists can sort of find their spot in who they are in their life. So do you think you would benefit from that, and especially if you had any other artistic friends?
I would. And even aside from like art-related stuff, I just feel like I connect a lot better with people who are artistic themselves, just on a personal level and like a humor level and all of that. I mean, once again, that's why I say like the best friends I've ever had I met through art classes or art-related things, because I think you kind of resonate on a different wavelength than... I think art just requires a lot of introspection, and that can be reflected across someone's personality regardless of their work, and I like to find people like that.
It's not the same over like social media or stuff. Like you can text someone, message someone, but it's not the same as having that like in-person connection or like doing something with that person. I feel like some of the strongest forms of collaboration and camaraderie come from making something together, like in art, or anything really.
Yeah, there's a type of accomplishment in it. I don't know. I think, like you said, through social media, it's hard to find that. It's all very, that sort of stuff goes away or stops being noticed after a few minutes or a few hours, and art is something that stays around. I mean, I think there are exceptions. I grew up on my phone when I was a kid, and there were I've had a few online friends where to this day, how old am I now? 6 years later, 6 years later, we still talk and we check in with each other. But I would say for the most part, it's kind of, when you're on social media, you're going to put a picture of yourself out there that's different from reality. And I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with that, because we're supposed, every single person is self-conscious. And when you have the ability to alter the image of yourself you're putting out there, of course you're going to take it. I'm not going to post a horrible picture of myself when I could post one from a good angle. That's just, that's normal. But I think it does get in the way of connection a little bit. And I think it makes a lot more people self-conscious than they should be. If you meet someone in real life, you're going to like them regardless of the angle you see them at or the type of clothes that they're wearing.
On the topic of self-image, have you, does being an artist and sort of having that skill and just kind of connection with yourself and being self-aware, do you think that's helped you become more self-confident?
It does. It has. There's actually a lot of art I make where I'm kind of the subject in it. And a lot of the time I make that art with myself as a subject when I'm having low self-esteem or I'm kind of stuck in my own head. I think it can be kind of empowering to take yourself. Most people don't really like themselves, honestly. And to take yourself and turn yourself into a piece of art and appreciating yourself. If you can't do it from a very deep internal self-love, you can at least appreciate yourself through an aesthetic lens, which has been kind of a gateway for me just liking myself, being more comfortable with the body that I'm in and the type of person that I am.
with the like superficiality of social media, it is hard to be like realistic in terms of your expectations with yourself and others, especially. I feel like it's kind of warped people's views of each other.
Yeah, I just feel like with art, it's much more real, I guess, in a sense where it's like you can feel what you're painting and you can feel sort of what you're making. And I think overall it's just a really good outlet if you just want to, like Katie was saying, I feel like social media is just very superficial and it's really only like the top layer. And when you're making a piece or writing something or even just creating anything, you really need to have the self awareness of what you're feeling and sort of who you are as a person. And I think that a lot of young people would, I feel like anyone, but especially young people, would benefit from that outlet to be able to create.
Yeah, I agree. I think just you see more of someone's genuine self through their art, and you can even see it to some level through like not just what kind of like stuff they depict in their art, but just the techniques they use and the general mood that they go for. I mean, I can tell stuff about myself based on the way that I draw, and I know it's because of the things I was experiencing while I was shaping my style and all of that. I don't know. I just think it's a great way to express your authentic self, and it also expresses yourself and your feelings in a way that words really can't most of the time.
How do you think your art style relates to who you are as a person?
Well, it's so 50-50 because a lot of the time I just love to doodle and make little comics and all that. Those are like normally just super cute little drawings because I like cute things and it's kind of a lot of the time I seek out stuff that like just calms me down. So you can see in that a lot of the time when I'm drawing cute things, it's me actually like in the moment trying to calm myself down. And then the other half, I would say my more serious pieces generally are a little dark. There's kind of, a lot of the time there's hints of like panic or discomfort. And that does also relate to me as a person because I do feel, panic a lot of the time. I have anxiety, but I do feel kind of a lot of the time there's a feeling of not fitting right in the world or stuff like that. I have that a lot. I put that into my art. Then my art's a part of the world, so I feel like I fit in the world a little better. I don't know. There's a lot, but I think when you really know a person personally, and then you see the art that they put down, you can kind of see their traits and their thoughts and their fears put into their art, even in the most subtle way.
Yeah, I've known you for a while enough to know, and it's like when the artist goes through a change, so does their art. So it's sort of like they're telling their life story, maybe not literally, but in a sense where it's like, you can almost feel it, I think, in a sense. So what do you think has been like the biggest sort of benefit, or at least just feeling you've gotten from making your art where you feel recognized personally in it?
I think, honestly, some of the times I feel the most recognized, I bring a little sketchbook to work, and like my coworker, I had this one coworker, and every time she would come by, she would say that it was super good and I needed to be in a magazine, which isn't me bragging, it's just more stuff like that. I don't really care about things like shows, or I think they're a great way to meet like-minded people, but I don't care too much about large-scale recognition like that. It's just nice to, when you meet a person who connects with it and who just enjoys looking at it, it can be really gratifying because to me it's like you're looking at a piece of myself. You're looking at my thoughts and feelings that maybe you don't know about, but they're on paper and you like them and you accept them, and it's a great feeling to have.
I think as an artist, a little goes a long way. I think in a sense where art can be seen as very intimidating, especially if you're new to it and haven't really dabbled in any of the arts. And I wish people would realize that it is really easy to start. I think you really don't need that much material wise, or you can just create. And I think people get really hesitant because they also don't want to see that side of themselves that they really aren't comfortable opening up with to the world also.
Yeah, I think pretty much anything is art, regardless of someone's skill level or experience when they go into it. I think as long as you are expressing yourself, that's what matters. And I think the reason why a lot of people just don't do art at all, it isn't really about, I think definitely self-image comes into play. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm not talented, I'm not good enough for this, whatever. But honestly, I think most of the time people are just scared to try, because I've met tons of people who don't do art and they have so many ideas and they always ask me to draw out those ideas for them. And it's, I try to tell them, like, you could draw it out yourself. It's still going to be art, and that's how you learn and you get better. But people are just scared to start.
I feel like a large part of that is also due to social media, because they see like these posts of us artwork and it's like masterpieces. We need to stop holding ourselves to such high standards, especially when it comes to our art, because it's just art. It's supposed to be fun, it's supposed to be authentic, and having everything picture perfect every single time isn't realistic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think especially with the media and sort of how society portrays art, it's a very it's not really something that a lot of people feel like they have the right to do. And I feel like it's just really hard for people to even step in to that.
Well, thank you so much for coming today, Cass. It was wonderful getting to know you and having you talk about your experiences with art with us.
It was really nice to have you on this platform.
It was nice to be here. It was nice to talk about this.
And we will see you guys in the next episode. Bye.